Greetings, fellow Gothamites! Tiki here,
And BlueDragonFive.
and we're back to cover episode 10 of season 5 of Fox's retelling of the Dark Knight mythology, entitled I Am Bane. So join us as we venture into Batman's birthplace.
And explore Gotham.
What a lovely, lovely voice!
All right. Oh, Dragon, that I haven't done an instinctual thing like that in an intro for a while, but I hope you appreciated it. All right, so folks, I apologize. We are about a week late on that. It is 100% my fault and 0% Dragon's fault. I just want to emphasize that.
I'd also like to emphasize that, yes.
100% my fault, 0% Dragon's fault. So, all right, but alas, Dragon, at least we got to cover this episode before the next one airs, right? At least, like, we're, I know we're behind, but better late than never, and better late than an episode behind. So, all right. So with that in mind, Dragon, this episode to me, it's interesting. It's an interesting beast because when it first started out, I was like, all right, it's okay. It's just a little exposition heavy. I wish we were doing more with the title cards. I'll say that much right now. But it was a little exposition heavy, kind of getting us into that 9 months later, however long the time jump is in this episode. It was a little foggy. But once the fog cleared and once Act 1 kind of wraps up and Bane really enters the picture, this episode was definitely a ride and one that I really enjoyed and one that very much set the stage for the end game of the season, if you will, and the end game of the whole series. So Dragon as a whole, I really enjoyed this one. I just thought there was a little bit of clunky exposition at the first act that we'll kind of talk through. Are you on the same page as me about that?
Here's the thing. I don't think it's necessarily... You're right that there's something off about it, but I don't necessarily think it's the exposition. I think they obviously took a risk here. It's a risk that I kind of called the risk they took somewhat. And again, so far I'm not put off by it, and we'll talk about it when we get there. Let's just say on the whole, I won't know until the finale. It's kind of where I'm at on this episode. I won't know until the finale. It's kind of threw some stuff at me here. It's like, you know what I mean? It's good, and I think the dialogue's really on point. There's some fun to be had for sure, some cool stuff in it. But by the same token, I think it's just kind of they kind of threw something at us here. It's kind of a wait and see. It's kind of what this episode is. A lot of wait and see. It's setting the stage for the big two-parter climax, as it were.
All right. So with that in mind, anything else we need to go over before we dive right into the thick of things, Dragon?
No, let's get into it.
Okay, so we start the episode with a character that you and I have a very specific admiration for, Mr. Hugo Strange.
And this is a really great opening. It really is. So we have the birth of Bane sequence here.
This is going to be... This is going to be excruciating and unfortunately very, very long.
So, to give a little context here, so this sequence, we have this really great sequence from Eduardo's point of view, because it's been a while, and again, hence the little bit of time jump there, is to kind of fill in the blanks, I guess. We're seeing that, Eduardo, he was
Go ahead.
Eduardo was fatally wounded a few episodes back, and of course, kind of saved with presumably some venom or kind of an anesthetic on his face. Very Bane looking, of course, and basically, he was basically he was going to be Hugo Strange was going to fix him up and turn him into Bane. That's kind of where we left off. And we're seeing the horror unfold as it were. And again, it's a really great kind of all the characters do. It's Hugo Strange, and it's a sequence that really celebrates what you can do with Hugo Strange. This episode is really generous to the Hugo Strange character. I loved it.
Would you say that this episode is a very generous scene partner?
Yes, Tiki, I would. No, but seriously, so what we have going on here is Walker, who we'll find out who Walker really is a little later on, which is going to be interesting. Walker promises, Eduardo will fulfill his purpose, and they'll have the strength to see his purpose through. Basically, again, she found him, and we learn how specifically she found him, and you plucked him from Peñadora, and of course is now just kind of fixing up and kind of help, kind of taking over Gotham with him. That's kind of the general plan here. So basically, she's fulfilling her promise by giving him the strength that he had the strength of character. Now he needs the physical strength to match it up to kind of patch him up there. And Hugo Strange, of course, says he has just said, he's Hugo Strange taking he's relishing this really painful process here. Like it's going.
This is exactly the type of like creepy BD Wong performance I was wanting from Hugo Strange.
And this is like Hugo Strange fully formed, because Hugo Strange at his core, in the very beginning, he's the guy who makes monsters. And of course, we saw a lot of that when his first introduction, but now we're seeing kind of like doing it again. We kind of melded a lot of Bane's. We took a different spin on the Bane stuff. Now, of course, I'm just going to address it up front here so I don't forget about it later on. So the interesting thing with all this, Tiki, is of course I called that they're doing a legacy thing with Bane, where we have Eduardo Dorrance, who in the comics is Bane's father. And basically we kind of did that here. The idea he was in Peñadora, and then of course he was liberated from Peñadora, possibly leaving a kid behind, and that's still on the table. There's nothing saying that can't happen. Now, by the same token, we've had this before with characters like Black Mask, where again legacy character, but we never saw the kid. I think it stands to reason that, again, assuming this is just the Bane that we get, would you be happy with this Bane?
I mean, honestly, yes, because they're kind of making it like very similar to Dark Knight Rises Bane, and they're being pretty on the nose about the fact that this is supposed to be Dark Knight Rises Bane in some regards, but they're doing their own spin on it, and I kind of respect that. It's like, it's similar to the most pop culture centric version of Bane that we've ever gotten, but it's it's not all the way a ripoff. It's playing its own game to a certain extent.
Sure. You got to remember, Bane is a character, in the origin department. Again, he's somewhat, I want to emphasize, somewhat of a blank canvas, because basically have to check off certain boxes where, okay, he's in the prison. He was raised in prison. That's basically has a huge prison tie. But again, Bane has no real name. Therefore, you can kind of fudge the details a little bit on that. And again, so if it were just like an honest to goodness, like if we do Bane, again, we've kind of we had Riddler before we had Batman, so obviously there's a little bit of, they've had some wiggle room on those things on this show. So again, if Bane was just kind of fully formed, like we never got another Bane, again, like they don't hint at the kid at the end of this, I'm not going to be mad, I'm saying. And I'm surprised by that, because again, my biggest fear going into this season was that we're going to do the whole Bane breaking like Bruce Wayne's back, which is going to be.
You know what? I feel like we got a good compromise on that, and we'll talk about that as we.
That's what I'm saying. So I think basically, yeah, it looks like they struck a decent compromise on that, and I think basically that's kind of winning me over more. If we don't hint at a next gen Bane, this still works for at least a really good proto Bane, like we have a really good proto Joker with all the Jerome and Jeremiah stuff, So I think they struck a good balance with it, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the procedure. And the procedure is done very accurately to Bane. This thing is why I really love how this episode opens, because it's he's hooked up to the Hugo Strange begins turning him into essentially a monster here, where he basically the venom is kind of procured, and it's kind of produced, and it's kind of like infused into his body, and of course very Batman and Robin-esque, I gotta admit. It's kind of Batman and Robin. Again, if any show's going to do it right, it's going to be, again, Season 5, we had some Schumacher cronies earlier on, like the Schumacher Neon Gang, and now we're having a few better homages to Batman and Robin here, so that's kind of neat. It's pretty accurate to how it goes.
Bane is kind of like the perfect like middle ground in terms of intelligence between Nolan Bane and Schumacher Bane.
He is, yeah. It's kind of
like he's not an idiot, but he's not a Bond supervillain either. You know what I mean?
Of course not. Now again, he has one advantage over the Dark Knight Rises Bane, but again, we'll get there later. But so the idea is he's reborn, and basically the way that Walker sells it here is you'll be a bane of injustice, a bane of to the corrupt, a bane of anyone who opposes us. Basically saying, again,
gotta tell you, Dragon, that was a little on the nose. For me, at least.
Yeah, but sometimes they spell out the Bane's name in the first place. Most of the time they don't. Just name is Bane. I think maybe there's like one line about it. So it's on the money. And I gotta tell you though, again, a Bane is in what I really love about it here is, again, the parallel to Batman, where the idea he's going to be a symbol for something, hence the name Bane, a symbol for, like you're going to be, the dread of everyone who, basically Bane in terms of like being like the other antithesis of, or the just like the enemy of something. Like, and you're going to be a Bane of the unjust, the people who like kind of break the rules of society. You're going to be their worst nightmare. Again, you're going to be a symbol that corruption and crime are going to fear. But of course, again, you obviously see a little bit of the parallel to Batman there. It's kind of neat.
Sure.
So, he's going to be reborn, being the whole thing kind of reborn, given like a new persona, given like a new symbol to become. We take Eduardo Dorn's just kind of like a nameless soldier in a crusade, and we give him purpose with Bane. So that's kind of cool in the whole Eduardo story of it all.
Yeah, I like that Eduardo was introduced early on, and it kind of makes it like a full season arc, more so than if Bane was just an 11th hour antagonist who shows up at the last minute.
Certainly.
All right.
Of course, we have like the cool shell, like the veins and everything, like the eye bit, whereas it's all creepy and all transforming. Of course, it does look a lot like the setup we had way back in season 1, where he took the Viper drug, which of course is refurbished into Venom, which is what goes into Bane ultimately. So it's kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
He turns all pale and veiny, just like the first one way back when. So again, it's kind of a more, I guess, a better rigged version of it here. All right.
All right,
so solid cold open.
I have with this episode is that we really should have used the title cards. As I said, we really should have had an indication of the days, an update on that.
Yeah, but obviously, like 9 months have passed, given what happens in this episode. So we know time has passed. And you're right, though. It would have been great to have like that visual earmark we were hoping for ever since episode 1.
Mm-hmm. All
right, so what's happening?
I'm just saying, if any episode was the episode to do it, it probably would have been this one.
There's a chance this might not be a direct link up to the next one. There's a chance.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. All right, so what happens?
All right, so back in Gordon's office, it's reunification day.
Yeah, Bullock's all happy-go-lucky. Jim, it's reunification day. That day's today. Maybe not that giddy about it, but he's telling him, "Hey, good news." So we have the general here. We have finally a symbol of progress. One of the generals, one of the kind of the emissaries of the government here. General Wade has shown up with a convoy. They're all here. They're all here to kind of begin the reunification, bring in resources, help, etc., etc. Back up. But Jim's perspective, has obviously changed a little bit. A little time's passed, and of course now Jim, has a wife. He married Lee, which, by the way, a little fun fact. Of course, in real life, Maria Baccarin and Ben McKenzie are married, but this is really sweet. I found this out today, that the last thing they shot for the season was the wedding, so it's kind of nice.
That's actually really sweet.
Yeah, it's nice. And pretty much like all the, a lot of the runners, like,
and when you think about it, that's the last thing they shot for the entire series, which is, kind of a nice full circle thing when you consider they met on the show.
I know. How sweet is that? Those two kids got together and got married in real life. That's sweet.
I'm honestly kind of gushing about it, Dragon.
Yeah. Anyway, so Jim's perspective has changed. He's got a wife and kids. So basically, he's in the year 1 framework, and I love that. The idea of in Batman year 1, it's Jim Gordon with a pregnant wife. In this case, it's a little bit more complicated than that, obviously. But the point being, Jim Gordon, essentially pregnant with child here. Jim Gordon, he's worrying about bringing a kid into a city without hope. That's the gist of Batman year 1. The kids always connect to the Gordon story. And we're kind of getting Gordon to that framework here where he's thinking about Gotham's future, and he's asking the bigger questions. Like, now reunification day has come, and he's been kind of tallying that off for a bunch of episodes now. But now that it's finally here, he's asking the bigger Jim Gordon kind of year 1 question. Then what? I mean, we fixed the bridges. Just fixing the bridges doesn't mean that everything's suddenly going to improve. So again, classic Jim Gordon. It's like, guy never smells the roses. It's always like worrying about the next storm. He's buying a raincoat for the next storm, as it were. I want to believe, of course, one of the great Jim Gordon lines here, I guess, is I want to believe things are going to get better, but sometimes it's hard for me to see it. Like that, if I ever need like a Gordon line in the episode, like that's one right there. Like, yep, that's that character in a nutshell. Ben McKenzie, you're doing a good job. You grow some facial hair, then we'll talk.
God. Honestly,
Anyway.
Drake, the fact that the wedding is the last thing that they shot makes me kind of skeptical that they I don't know, unless Ben McKenzie just quickly shaved the mustache.
Well, again, they could have shot things out of order, or again,
That's
maybe
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
could be a
Yeah.
really good fake. I don't know. Anyway, so long as it's not CG'd
We
on
need
it.
to get Ben McKenzie mustache in real life, man. We need to get mustache IRL.
So long as it's not digital, I think we're going to be in good shape with the mustache, right?
All right.
That's how you do a big budget Batman movie. Forget like Justice League, where again, Justice League they wasted their money, but again, if you're doing a Batman movie, you have to get Gordon's mustache right. You have to CG it on, otherwise that character is incomplete.
Honestly, with Justice League, I think they should have just given him a beard.
Oh sure.
Anyways.
Anyway, yes. So, of course, Bullock saying, "I don't have kids. I never, none that I know of anyway." But you do, and you gotta you gotta believe, Jim. You gotta believe the city's going to be things are going to get better. You got to be optimistic. Your father to be, and of course, Jim Bullock and Bruce is in the GCPD. Bruce gives him some good news. Again, we need to pile on the good news for the big blows to the season that are going to happen later in this episode. We're setting the stage for the big kind of last two episodes, so we got to be all positive in the first act here. Like, hey, the water's clean. So again, time has passed. So we're seeing that now the water supply has been cleaned of all the toxic chemicals and everything. So everything's on the up and up. GCPD cheer for father to be Jim Gordon. It's a really nice little moment here where again he says the past year, so it's kind of hard. I don't know if he means just since things started, like a year has passed since things started. Not sure.
Right. That would be what, like, to me, that would imply that I don't know. The thing that's confusing me is that it seems like we're kind of getting into the end game of the plot. And how many days did we start at, Dragon? How many days was that cold open at? Remind me.
It's been a while, and I'll definitely know by the time we get to the next two episodes. But I think
look it up for spec, okay?
I want to say, yeah, sure. I mean, I want to say it was like 87 days, but
okay.
Anyway, all right. Anyway, so let's see where. Oh yes, the point is that Bruce is giving him good news. Water supply is clean. We have this really nice moment, like, hey, Father B, and Gordon's giving this speech of like, hey guys, we made we made Gotham safe for the past year, but we're not out of the woods yet. We got to keep up the great work here. So like, give yourselves another round of applause. That's a nice little bit there. Like, give yourselves a round of applause and get back to work. Gordon with a smile, cheering on the GCP. It's a nice little bit. Like, oh shucks, guys, thanks. Let's get back to work.
No, I agree. That was kind of classic Jim Gordon. That sort of it definitely is kind of straight out of the comic books, except for the mustache.
Again, he's got to earn the mustache, man. He's got to get through the most harrowing experience. And anyway, what happens next?
Okay, so the general rolls up. It is convoy.
Yes. The army. The point is, the army arrives, and he's kind of commending Jim on his work here. Like, hey, from what I hear, the green zone stretches from to every corner of the island. Meaning they've made progress. Meaning like things are looking good, and he's asking to double check the labs. Bruce and the Wayne labs work on the water. He says, no offense, then we got to double check the. To me, I don't know what it is, Tiki. I don't know if it's them kind of doing or something really cool there, where it's like they're tipping off that something's a little off about this. And it's not that like the general, obviously nothing's happened with him quite yet, but still it's like, note that, man, I don't know what it is, T. Something just struck me wrong about that. You know what? I know he's trying to be not offensive there. Something about this bit makes me foreshadow something bad's going to happen later on. And I'm not wrong. No.
I don't know. I didn't really think anything of that moment, but you're right. There is something very catastrophic that happens with this general guy, so it could very well be intentional.
Yeah. All right. Oh, no, I was right. It was 87 days. So we stood. It's 391 days and 87 days. We're 87 days in at the start of the season, and we're.
I'm sorry, Dragon. My question was actually how many days, like in that first cold open that we got in the season. How many days was that?
That's 391.
391. Okay, so that's like a little over a year. So it honestly kind of matches up. I feel like it matches up.
I want to say that's supposed to be a year and then the 87 days. I want it off the top of my head, but then again, I don't know. It probably bleeds into
Yeah,
it.
right. That's what I kind of thought as well.
It's basically the 9 months of the baby plus maybe it's 9 months of the
Uh-huh.
baby plus the 87 days. Maybe that ends up being the year and change. Maybe
Exactly.
I don't know. The point
All
being, time has passed. So I think we're all linking up, is what I'm getting at here. But again, a little time could pass in between things, so we'll see. Anyway, yeah. So General stops by, wants to double check the lab results to make sure everything's simpatico for reunification day. Meanwhile, our villains, the sub is done, and not the sandwich. No, the submarine. Penguin, he'd kill a man for a
really
sandwich.
even call these guys villains at this point? They really aren't. I mean, let's just be honest with us. Like, these guys are truly comic relief side characters at this point.
Who killed people for sandwiches? If you want to go back to the But I got to tell you though, after this episode, don't get me wrong, we've always kind of had this sentiment, but especially after this episode, I want a Penguin and Riddler. If they're talking spin-offs of Gotham, give me like the Penguin Riddler show. All right, just give me that.
I want Penguin, Riddler, and Babs. I think specifically the three of them have such a good history with each other.
That's fair. We got to see what's going to happen to Babs by these next two episodes. I don't think there's a lot of questions linear with Babs.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, point being though, again, I can imagine even if you want like a fully formed Batman, assuming they go that route, you could have like kind of a you could do what people thought. I'm sorry, we're getting the speculation already. Never mind. Later. Point being, we have our our lovable duo here. The submarine is done, showing that time has passed, and Enigma actually built the submarine from scratch. Amazing as it sounds, but again, if anyone can do it, it's got to be the Riddler.
Yep.
So, Enigma is he's doing stuff like the final weight calculations and, he's checking the voltage and stuff. And of course, there's a weight issue. They're doing the weight calculations and basically, I believe Barbara shows up and she brings her bags and everything. Says, but you gotta leave some of those bags behind. Oh, what about some of your knickknacks? Of course, knickknacks being many valuable, heavy objects the Penguin has stolen, which of course he's not going to leave any of that behind. Of course, it's between life and death, so he kind of makes a compromise on that one. Says, what's worth the weight of gold? Gold. So as I always do, but he just shouts gold. And I don't know if this is what does the deed or what. I don't know if maybe a little bit of shock or something is capable of this sort of thing. But after he says that, Barbara's water breaks. So maybe he's scared of that. I don't know. I don't know if that's. I mean, sometimes shock does induce pregnancy, but again, like gold. I don't know if that's going to do it anyway. So Barbara's going into labor, and of course now there's a big question of a double cross because now she's at the disadvantage, and the two of them, like submarine's practically done. She's got to figure out the weight calculations, and they're out of there. So Penguin offers to please, okay, fine. Look, we're not going to leave you behind. Would you like me to drive you? Says, no, I'm not as delicate. In your delicate condition, would you like me to drive you? Like, no. Like, I'll drive myself. Not as delicate as you think. Believe me, I'll show you how delicate I can be if you guys leave without me. So she leaves.
Donovan Martin, to paraphrase, let's just see how snake-like I can be.
Oh God. Anyway. So Enigma, so basically she leaves, and again they say, we won't leave without you. Okay, you meet us at the docks, and we'll go right after you and your bundle of joy. We'll get out of the city. So Enigma and Penguin, I think they have the best writing possibly they've had in the series, but just some great back and forth banter. This episode's so on point as they're bantering, and it's delightful. And it's just, of course, like of course we're gonna leave behind. Yeah, sure, it's one less passenger, and of course Enigma says 2. Oh, you're so right.
Are so right.
They're having a great time this episode. It's a lot of fun.
All right,
let's see.
So this big Alfred moments this episode, Dragon. We start with Alfred and Selena. I believe they're in a library, right?
Yeah, they're in a library. Basically, looking for they're in an architect's place of some kind. Presumably, they're in an architect's place of residence. It may or may not be a library, but I think it's like an architect's place. Which, by the way, might be a Scott Snyder reference because Scott Snyder had an original character in Gates of Gotham, which is a villain called the Architect. Now, again, I'm not just I'm not just trying to say
Well,
every architect.
regardless of the villain, I just thought like my Snyder senses were tingling just from the mere mention of Gotham architecture in general.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he had a whole villain that was all about the architecture of Gotham. That's how he introduced the idea of like the old Victorian days of Gotham with the 5 rich families. Basically, all the stuff we have with the Galavan flashbacks. All that's derived from the Gates of Gotham stuff. So again, I'm not saying it has to be that specific architect, but I don't know, it does feel Snyder-esque. I don't know.
So essentially, Alfred's going on about how he thinks that he's failed Bruce by letting the house get destroyed, and rebuilding Wayne Manor might be his last great service to Bruce now that Bruce has grown.
Yep.
And we get a really sweet moment where Selina's like, like, you're going to retire? And Alfred's like, absolutely not. I'll always be here to watch after the Wayne family, or something to that extent.
Yeah. And he says, like, we have this great line by Selina here. She says, I wish I could blow up my past. And she's trying to take the guilt off Alfred. Well, I wish I could blow up my past. Maybe you will. When you build, Alfred has this great line, when you build something new, your past must be part of it. So again, it's kind of referring to the Batman destiny of it all. You have to, even if you want to start like a new venture of becoming a vigilante, you're going to have to, again, the very core of what formed you has to remain. Has to, the alley has to remain. Anyway, so so the manor is going to be Alfred's one last great service, which in itself is, I think, is a really lovely idea, and I think kind of facilitates where it's going by the end of the episode, which we'll get there when we get there. And the idea he's like, he was going to stand guard as he's always done. So again, I love it's kind of Alfred as the old school dutiful Alfred, and of course, a big foreshadow to.
I gotta tell you, man, I'm like, more and more, I'm convincing myself that this guy is like my definitive on-screen Alfred.
Really? I mean, Pertwee's great, and he has the advantage of having like probably the most Alfred appearances. I mean, live action.
It is an unfair advantage, but it's an advantage that definitely helps because we've kind of like grown to love this guy over the past 5 years.
That's true.
So I don't know. I mean, I just think, like, if anything, I think he's definitely the Alfred with the best arc, but keeping in mind that is just based on the unfair handicap that he has with the TV show.
You also got to remember, too, we've never had a bad Alfred, so you really can't miss with any Alfred. So it's kind of...
Of course.
I mean, again, if we're talking about all time, obviously nothing's beaten Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. in my heart. But the point being, though, it's a number of great Alfreds. But I see your point.
Well, when I say on screen, I more mean live action.
Sure. Live action, sure.
Yeah.
All right. So, meanwhile, our trio here, they're a trio of Bruce, Gordon, and Bullock here. They're all just kind of huddled around. They're kind of pondering, wait a minute, what if this guy's in the bag like Walker was? Like, what if he's working for Walker in league with her, has been gotten to by her? And, Bruce goes check his findings just to make sure it's on the up and up, and these guys aren't getting, basically aren't kind of screwing things up. Again, aren't like secretly working for Walker and sabotaging everything. Jim gets the call from Lee that Barbara's in labor. He's getting the age. It's the age-old situation, folks. Does it work? The baby's coming. Is he gonna make it?
Oh yeah.
So Jim, I love this. I love Jim's insecurity over the future. In Gotham, and of course, it's the age-old thing of like he's it's the being worried about the future of Gotham as well as kind of being divided by kind of duty and family here, where again he has a duty to the city as well as to facilitate the future for the family as well as the family itself. And that's the age-old thing about the characters, trying to keep those two lives separate. And of course, when they bleed over, usually killing joke happens, and that's never a good thing. And of course, Lee says, "Look, just I'll be there when I can get it. I can buy me sometimes. It doesn't really work that way." Well, wait, I love you. I just love that bit there. It just shows you Gordon's a lot more in touch with his feelings than he was at the very start of the season. He's saying, "Wait, I love you."
Yeah.
It's a nice little bit. So it's a little. Then we have a little happy moment. I got to tell you how rare this is. We have a really great little brief happy moment here, a genuine happy moment with Bruce Wayne. I love this. Where Bruce says, "Jim," and he walks up to him. "What? You did it. We did it. We got it."
You're right. It is kind of like a randomly like Jim is so he's so programmed to expect, like, oh boy, someone's yelling my name. Some shit must be going down.
But I mean, the fact that against the kid who will be Batman is just so happy here, just saying, "Jim, we did it!" It's just like something you never hear Batman say ever. He's never going to be go lucky and say, "Hey, we did it!" Like that'll never happen in a million years. We're gonna have a little. That's what I'm saying. We got through it, Jim. We got through it, Jim. But seriously, just that line in itself. I know it just sounds like I'm lingering on here, but it says, we did it. You did it. We got through it. Again, we got through it, Jim. Just being kind of like the thing you wish Batman could say to Gordon every day, like, hey, we got through all this crazy stuff. The worst is behind us. And of course, the moment this is said, you get the all clear from the generals, like, hey, we're all clear for reunification. Yay, us. Like now we can put the call on, get some real progress here. Everything's great, and of course we have this line from Jimmy here says, that's the second. That's just the second piece of good news I got.
Second
today.
Best piece of news I've heard all day.
Of course, the minute he says that, then grenades.
The timing is so on point.
We get grenades, Jim. But I don't know why. It's because we're so close to the end. I'm geeking out over this, like Bruce just calling out Jim, and now it's in the heat about like Jim. So trucks arrive, and then we have the reveal of Bane.
All right, and we already see Bane in the thumbnail we have right here, Dragon. But let's see another piece of Bane. Let's see some more Bane action.
Yes, little piece of. Can we maybe scroll down a little so we kind of show off the full thing?
Okay, one sec.
Yes, we have a piece of artwork gratefully accepted by Nate Productions, who's done some stellar work for us, as well as does stellar work on the regular. He's in the middle of some really cool, let's just say, some Batman-related things right now. We'll definitely be covering at some point, but at the moment, a lot of neat stuff. Why don't you show them the other thing?
Yeah, so folks, if you haven't noticed, we have a new banner done by Nate Productions. Let me just kind of show that off right now. And what I like about this, Dragon, is it kind of gets to the heart of the channel, the So You Want to Be an Imagineer, the armchair Imagineering. And Dragon, I like that throughout all these years, we've kind of abandoned certain things, like we've changed up our format. There used to be a time where I'd be on camera. There used to be a time where we'd have like 10 different regular podcast series that we'd kind of be juggling between. Nowadays, it's kind of become a little bit more homogenized. We've kind of drop the label of like the different series and kind of just go under the one banner of the podcast. But through thick and thin, Dragon, through thick and thin, through everything, we've had the greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. That's kind of been our slogan. That's been our brand. And I feel like this new logo represents that very well.
Yes, actually, a little treat for the folks out there. This is actually this is the direct version that Nate did. So I thought I'd give it a little examination in art here. So this is the if you notice the banner, that basically, folks, you'll get a best look of the banner like when the videos are about to go up. So like when it's kind of for the live broadcast, basically you'll be seeing the image as it should be seen. And what I'm showing you here actually is the very first version before the alterations. There were basically two little alterations were made just to make it perfect because we need like there's a missing T. You'll see between So You Want and Be an Imagineer. There's a missing T that we have on the actual one, but this is just kind of the original.
Wait, isn't the T on the light bulb?
Well, no, yeah, that's the idea. It's basically the T is on the light bulb in the original version, but it was kind of turned for the actual banner itself. So it's a little fun fact. So
okay,
but yeah, it's again, I just wanted to show kind of in its original form here. So yeah, this is kind of what it looks like.
And of course, I love the blue sky in the background. That's very indicative of the Imagineering aspect of the channel.
Yeah, that was Nate's. Nate just kind of outshined on that one because I didn't even ask for that. I basically Nate was kind of gracious enough to ask if anyone wanted a little bit of kind of work done. We need a new banner because that old one.
Yeah, the old one. Like I really love the style that Basket Buddy had for that old one. But the thing is, there's nothing about that old one besides the fact that there's a tiki bird on the old one that represents anything that we're doing on the channel these days.
Basically, it was the tiki bird and the font on "So You Want to Be an Imagineer." That was the best part of it. But
Hey-o, Daddy-o, Hipster Donald's back for a quick verbal cameo. All right.
Anyway,
Donald returned briefly, folks. It's canon.
Anyway, point being, so I, basically, asked him for something similar to that, where basically, of course, something that identifies you and something that identifies me, which basically is, that, and of course, looking for the main logo here with the armchair Imagineer, and of course, a little bit of logo on the back of the chair, which we have with, so you want to be an Imagineer. So it's all relative, folks. And again, I only made like a little alteration, gave it kind of like a little Disney-inspired T, kind of bridging the two in the actual logo. So again, folks, is what looks like its original form. So eat it up; it looks great. Okay, but yeah, again, major thanks to Nate Productions. It turned out great. It's wonderful.
All right, just let me know when we can switch back.
Right. Well, okay, I'll let you know. So anyway, speaking of Bane, getting back to the point here. Sorry. So grenades, everything's going off, everything's going haywire. Trucks are pulling in. Oh yeah, here we go. So we killed. We have Bane. Bane is revealed. The back of a truck opens, and his armor is taking some bullets here. Because as you noticed in the image before us here, he's got kind of the design of Bane in his full form here I think it's a really neat design. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it too. I feel like it's even more realistic than the Nolan take. I feel like the Nolan take was kind of like this almost like half man, half machine, like Darth Vader thing they had going on. And this is much more like it's just an elaborate surgical mask.
There's only one thing I wish they'd fix on it, just one little thing. I just wish, because it's so cool looking. You'll notice on the left, on like I guess his right side, our left side, he has the little piece above the eye that looks identical to the Bane. Looks pretty much like the Bane mask, and I love that.
Uh-huh.
And I wish it was like I wish there was another one on the other side, and I think that would make it look perfect, in my opinion. Because again, it's how you do the Bane mask without doing the full kind of luchador mask. It's kind of a neat idea. But point being, it still looks really cool, and I like the fact. I mean, I like all the little the little kind of tubes that kind of connect to the venom that's kind of being distributed throughout the body, kind of the strength here. Not saying specifically it's venom, but I mean it's a green substance and he's super strong because what he's doing in the scenes, he's killing people with his bare hands. So obviously he's a great deal stronger than he was in the fight with Jim Gordon. So obviously he's it has to be venom. I mean, so it's.
I would think so.
Yes, and I'd like to think the irony, and again, maybe they'll express this in the next two episodes. Who knows? But I'd like to think that. Given given Walker's hatred for Wayne Enterprises, or at least for something that relates to Wayne Enterprises, that she would use something that Wayne Enterprises developed to create Bane, the whole Viper to Venom thing. So I like to think that's kind of the bitter irony of that too. It's kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so yeah, it looks neat. And he has a great entrance where they take some shots at him and it kind of bounces off the armor pretty much. He's got really good armor there. The metal parts are deflecting the bullets, and he just kills a man with his bare hands, which is just really cool. And of course, Gordon sees Eduardo, not anymore. So, and I love that it's not just a ripoff of the Bane voice. It's not just him doing a Tom Hardy impression, but there's obviously.
It's not, but it's very much like inspired by that, though.
It is. I just like that it's not the same thing, and he's not doing a British voice. He's not trying to do it that because obviously it would come out of nowhere, and I would just be like, oh, now he's not that.
I feel like the voice modulation thing is very much inspired by Dark Knight Rises, but the accent is very much its own.
It is. I like that it's like deepened it, if anything else. So it's not just. No, it's point is that I think it all came together as again being kind of in between kind of your Banes there, in between kind of your over the top Bane, in between kind of your Nolan Bane. So it's kind of in the middle there, and it's its own thing. It feels enough like its own thing. Again, it feels like the perfect proto Bane, which is kind of what he is. He's a prototype for Bane, which again feels very prototype in look and vice versa. But again, fully formed or not, I still think it looks pretty good. Anyway. So, of course, in the midst of this, it's just like not anymore, and then of course Bullock's run around trying to give chase to him there, but Jim, Bruce, and the General are tranquilized and captured and board on the armored truck, and they're absconded with, leaving Bullock alone, doing what he feared to do. That he's going to have to take over for Jim while he's kind of out of the loop there. So Bullock's leading the search and rescue with the GCPD for Bruce the General, and Jim. Get Selene and Alfred on the action. They get them. No, you know what? Sorry, I was just thinking if we need to keep the image up here, but you know, we keep it up for the until we get to the next. Bane's about to show up in a second anyway. We'll transition.
Okay.
Anyway, so Selene and Alfred, they're on the search. She's like, "You're not done yet, Alfred. You still got to protect Bruce, Alfred." You know, just getting kind of pep talking Alfred, getting him in the fray. These two turned out to be good friends by season 5.
After the child abuse.
Yeah, but again, she didn't kill his friend though.
Well, you know what's funny is like it's almost kind of like a mirror image of Lee and Babs's like whole dynamic of like, oh hey, it's your Auntie Lee. Mommy tried to kill her once, maybe twice.
Yep. Crazy.
It's like, I once punched you in the face so hard, but now I just think you're the best kid, Selena. All right, anyways.
Okay, anyway, so then we have a scene between, so Gordon awakens, and we have a scene between Bane and Jim here. Basically, Bane, or Proto-Bane, however you like to refer to him, we get the story, this is a really neat scene here. We get a kind of a story of the horrors that he suffered in Peñadora.
Mm-hmm.
Where he, it's basically he tells the story.
The guards played a game where they would bury the prisoners alive and take bets on which prisoners would be able to claw their way out, and then once they clawed their way out, well, the guards would just bury them again. And Bane was the champion of this game. He was the high score, if you will.
He had to stop being human to kind of survive an ordeal like that. I became Bane. I just didn't know it.
I was raised in the darkness, molded by it.
Right. Oh, but seriously, again, this is like the core of the Bane character here, where again he's a guy who suffers. Again, the idea, again, this is the main thing they communicate, even though obviously he wasn't. This specifically isn't the child who was raised in Peñadora, which of course may or may not be a son that he may have sired. But the point being, even if they got rid of that, I like that it celebrates. This is a guy who's in the worst prison on the face of the earth, like where people suffered like no man would ever suffer in any prison, and also might be homaging one of the. For my money, by the way, I saw Bane put Batman through the worst thing I've ever seen Batman put through. I mean, the most torturous thing I've ever seen Batman put through to this day. And I won't say exactly how, but let's just say it involved being buried alive. So I don't know if they're referencing this moment or not, but it's something definitely. Tiki, let me put it this way: it's in Justice League Doom. It's definitely worth you looking into it on the DC streaming service. Trust me, if you want to see. One of the worst thing Batman's ever had to get himself out of. That. Anyway.
All right, so then he's talking about how he found Walker, and Walker showed me the way. If the world is full of monsters, the only way to defeat them is to become one yourself.
So again, I love that line too, because again, this informs, and again, what I hope they're building to, and again, there's a chance they might not stick the landing on this. I'll be realistic. I mean, optimistically, what I love to think they're going for here is the direct correlation, where again, he became, to defeat a monster, you become a monster, and I think what we're building to is Bruce in reflection of it, especially after what Bane does by the end of this episode. That Bruce takes the guise of a monster as well, but he is not all consumed by it. So that's the idea. Like Bruce obviously will garb the omen of a bat, the garb of a bat of a monster. But again, he won't be fully consumed and kind of lose his soul, lose his perspective, lose his sanity, like Eduardo has with Bane here. So I think that's kind of, again, he's taking on the kind of this your pure unforgiving strength and just kind of the force behind what you deem as justice versus like kind of actually following the law, or at least trying to honor the law, and all that. Basically, again, kind of a neat little parallel if they stick the landing on is what I'm getting at.
Right.
So, and I love this too. I love that Gordon offers a little bit of sympathy here, where he just realizes, like, again, bear in mind the cool thing we had established earlier is that episodes earlier is that. All of this happened to Eduardo, like literally right before Gordon arrived in Gotham in episode 1. So it gives you great perspective on that level. But also,
it's kind of like an interesting, like, parallel storyline going on throughout the whole series, if you will, that's been happening in the background.
Like, basically, it's kind of saying that Gotham did in fact make Gordon a better person, because he could have ended up literally in Eduardo's shoes if he stayed with his unit. If he stayed with him, they would have been in the same position. So basically, if you look at Gotham as it was kind of sold to you, kind of the Snyder perspective of Gotham. Gotham. Gotham is a character within itself, where it's, like Gotham is a city that makes you great, it throws its worst nightmares at you, and if you can, it's the whole make or break in New York idea, where if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. It'll throw your nightmares at you, and it'll challenge you, and if you can survive, you'll be better. And it's basically, despite all the terrible stuff Gordon suffered, he could have suffered a lot worse if he stayed out of the city. The city kind of saved him despite putting him through his paces. So yeah, and I just love that Gordon's offering some genuine sympathy here. Because he was friends with Eduardo here. They were buddies. He says, "Look, you were a good soldier," and Eduardo's response is, "Don't pity me, Jim Gordon. Don't pity me, Jim." He tries to recruit Jim. And again, to me, what I really love about it, I love that he does show respect for Jim Gordon here. And again, this is kind of as you brought up there, it is kind of like the whole full circle. Like he's trying to, again, kind of take back all the progress he made in Gotham and saying, hey, why don't you become like me? It's a new world, Jim. Gotham is transforming into a new world. It's coming, and it's going to be, it's going to require require you to be strong and merciless, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
We should be united on this front, essentially. So that's neat. So basically, again, like he's realizing that Gotham is going to be transformed. Of course, Gordon's looking for the positive transformation. He's just looking for no, we're going to transform our way. We're going to decimate it, and therefore we're going to build anew. It says, there's no future for you. You haven't realized this. You kidnapped Bruce Wayne and a general of the United States government. You talk about the future, and you don't even have one. Of course, we have like a bit where he says, there's no Eduardo, only Bane. And of course, he tells him the rise. And this, to me, is the most transparent reference.
Oh yeah. That's what I'm saying. That rise bit is like them just directly winking to the audience. Like, yeah, you know what we're doing. We know what we're doing. Let's just acknowledge it. It's almost kind of like the moment in Iron Man 2. Like, look, I'm here. Let's just move on.
Yep. So of course, rise is very transparent. Walker comes in the room, and I guess now we should transition the image. Now we should go to the side image.
The side image?
Yeah, side image, because we're in that scene at the moment.
Okay.
All right. So Walker, we reveal Walker. She comes in, and she's reunited with she's reunited with Jim. She says, "Oh, we've already met. There's no need for formalities here. You don't need to toss him around and tell him to rise." Like he and I, again, because she betrayed Jim in such a really horrible way. Because again, she was the voice of hope on that radio that just betrayed him completely. So Jim's asking, "Who are you?" and says, "You know what? That's a question that only Bruce Wayne can. Let's let Bruce Wayne figure that one out."
God. Let's let Bruce Wayne play detective on this one.
I love, again, this scene to me is great here. So
yeah, that's the great thing is that it's kind of putting Bruce Wayne's detective skills to the test. It's like you think you're the world's greatest detective. Well, let's see how you work your detective skills under a very intense situation.
That's the thing. We have a bit of Detective Bruce on the spot here, as well as kind of the Gordon Batman friendship. So again, there's a lot's working for me in this scene here. So Jim tries to save Bruce's brother. He's like, "Hey, let him go. Okay, just let him and the general go. You only." Very least, just they have me and they have the general. Let the kid go, and she reveals that this has everything to do with Bruce Wayne, punishing Gotham for the sins of Bruce Wayne. It's great. The minute that's like, oh boy, some bads are coming.
You don't even know what this is.
Oh yeah, so that's the thing you never want to hear while you're strapped to a chair. Then I believe we begin the torture scene here where Bane is beating Jim until Bruce figures out who Walker is. So again, on the spot bullying. That's pretty much the image we have here. At least we're going to see it kind of build to this moment here. It's a really, again, I love this shot, by the way. It's just a really harrowing shot, just putting it all in perspective for Bruce Wayne here, where it's Bruce seeing Gordon tortured by Bane and at the behest of this woman. It's all in one shot. I love it. Anyway.
They definitely get the physicality of Bane and the threat level that he represents down pretty well in this episode between this and another event that we'll talk about later on in the episode.
Certainly. I mean, meanwhile, we have Penguin giving, again, just going full circle here. Penguin's giving a grand Shakespearean goodbye. It feels very 60s Batman, just how eloquent and, kind of Shakespearean he's being about it here. Because, of course, in the 60s show.
I have it if you want it.
Well, sure, I'll toss it to you in a second. So
Okay.
That's the cool thing about the 60s shows that they always kind of have these grandiose, like, especially with the Penguin of all characters, they always have these great speeches and references to history and just kind of the great playwrights and all the great literatures, and we do that all after the Penguin. So kind of it makes sense, especially the way Robin Lord Taylor's played this character in a show where we kind of do a dark version of the 60s show, and we have the Penguin just kind of speaking from the heart how he feels about the city when he thinks he's about to leave it. So how does that speech go?
Farewell, my beloved Gotham, city of my birth. Parting is such sweet sorrow. Though I leave you today, my heart will always remain. I do so hate goodbyes. And then, as he's saying, I hate goodbyes, Riddler's walking down and he's saying, well, you're in luck. The engine won't start.
This is great dialogue. I love it.
The pressure regulator's missing its valve.
And of course, there's a moment here. And basically, this Robin Lord Taylor channels Hey Arnold for a moment with this right here.
Totally.
He channels the Downtown and Fruits episode. He channels like one of those moments, or the well, I guess maybe Barbara. Oh God, great. Meanwhile, we cut to Barbara, and she's trying to rush the childbirth. Trying to rush childbirth.
Trying to rush the childbirth like someone would like rush a waiter along if they're like in a rush when they're eating a meal. You know what I mean?
Essentially, like the cable guy or somebody. She's
right.
And of course, Lee is, Lee basically makes it very clear, like, look, my first concern is the baby here, and that's what your first concern should be too. So that's all we're going to care about right now. Where's Barbara's plan? Because she does care about the baby's health. By the same token, she needs to get out of there. All right. Meanwhile, get back to the big intense moment, the big reveal. Also, the big reveal of the episode. All of it boils down here. So Bruce, he's being again. So Jim's just continuing being beaten. And we saw that Bane killed a guy with his bare hand. So obviously, you can imagine that getting punched around the clock by this guy is not going to be good for your health.
Right.
Like Bane's is going to town on Gordon every time. Like Bruce doesn't know the answers. Again, Bruce says, "I don't know." And again, Mazuz is Mazuz, he's doing a great job in this. And you see the guy's just tortured, seeing his buddy, this mentor figure to him getting beaten near to death, and he's just helpless on because he's not smart enough. At least, he's not able to figure it out like a detective in this moment. So he's punish me.
I am hurting you. There's nothing more painful than seeing a friend suffer. But he's not just a friend to you, is he? Jim Gordon's been like a father to you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, how awful it must be to watch another father die. All right.
Yes, and it's, I tell you again, one, I always love it when they bring up the whole Jim Gordon kind of like a father figure angle. Because, that's from the animated series has done stuff like that too. And that's the Gordon.
Bane goes after both of Bruce Wayne's father figures this episode.
He does, and I'm loving it. It's dramatic stakes, man.
Uh-huh.
And of course, like when someone you love dies, and she has this really great line: when someone you love dies, a part of yourself gets cut off forever. You know that, don't you? And again, that line is great because, of course, that's what the whole Batman idea is about, and of course, the correlation to the reveal here. Basically, after she says that, Bruce realizes who it is.
Who was cut away from me, Bruce?
It was a great moment because I tell you, for a moment, what I thought I was putting together. Because here's the thing.
Oh, God.
Because you know me, I somewhat, well, we'll talk about that in a second here, but in the moment, who I was thinking, because again, I was thinking, no, I'm not going to go that route, but then I was thinking, like, who else it could be, and I was thinking, Theo Galvan? Thinking, like, but then I realized, I kept thinking, just thinking that, remember, Galvan had the thing against the Wayne family, that's what I kept thinking.
Yeah, I know.
Because then I'm thinking, okay, is it Galvan? Does it relate to the real Azrael? Is it the whole? Because again, Azrael has like a Nightfall connection. Like, okay, is that like what where Bane correlation is for all this? I mean, they're going really deep cuts. Nightfall here. I mean, that's the thing. I'm just wondering. Okay, could it be Gal? Could it be them?
That's a
Like,
big
wait a minute.
correlation to why Tabitha was killed in the first episode. It like ties in thematically.
And yeah, I'm thinking like, okay, wait a minute. So basically, my thought process, the thing that kind of stopped me was, wait a minute, Galvin can't be that old because I mean, again, it's his daughter. I mean, he's up there, but he's not that up there, is he?
Right.
Anyway,
right.
so then we reveal. Bruce puts it together, and I love this. I just love that he gives Mizzou's so great here. He gives a look of like he recognized, and she says, "Oh yes, you know. Say his name." Ra's al Ghul. And then, of course, she reveals her name is. And of course, you know me. I'm on pins and needles. I'm waiting for Talia. I'm there. I'm expecting.
Okay, here we go, Dragon. Here we go. What is the purpose of it not being Talia? Please regale me with this.
Okay, I do have an answer for this one. Okay. So initially, I'm thinking Talia because you know me, Tiki. My personal opinion for me, like I know a lot of people say Catwoman. That's great, but you know, for me, Talia al Ghul is like that's the woman. In a perfect world, I think you know, if Bruce Wayne ended up with a woman, it would have to be Talia al Ghul, in my opinion. That's who I think the perfect match for Batman would be. But obviously, that's the Romeo and Juliet of the Batman universe because there's like the father, the warring father, and the suitor thing. Anyway, but here's the thing. So Ra's al Ghul famously has two daughters. He does.
Okay.
You have Talia, and you got Nisa. And I've actually met the I don't want to just be mean to Jamie Murray here. I mean, I think with this reveal, I think it's a little better casting in that regards. Like, hey, we got Jamie Murray. It kind of fits with getting her for that kind of character. And a lot of the times you have kind of there's kind of a obviously Ra's al Ghul's Arabian, but a lot of the times in the comics and in the adaptations, we kind of make him British a lot of the time. There's kind of like a royal, kind of a British Colombian sort of thing. We do a lot with Ra's al Ghul. Anyway, point being. Nisa al Ghul is the other daughter, and Arrow has Nisa al Ghul. I met her. Remember, I told you I met.
Yeah.
I met Nisa al Ghul from Arrow. She's really she's really nice, and again, she kind of completes the whole like she's the unofficial middle child of the of our ridiculous headcanon for for the Elektra family. You have Elektra. You have Gal Gadot as. If Gal Gadot was born as the eldest, and basically right in the middle is Nisa al Ghul. Anyway, so the point is, many a time they kind of like the Arkham games have a different take on it, where sometimes she gets along with Talia, like she mourns her sister. Sometimes there's a thing where she's against her father. So sometimes the Al Ghul children are opposed to their father more than others. And I guess the logic was they didn't go with Talia for two reasons. They didn't go with Talia, one, because, again, it would have been a little too much like Dark Knight Rises.
I'm kind of glad they didn't go with Talia just because of the Dark Knight thing. It would have been, like you said, it would have been a little too similar. And I feel like in this way, it kind of makes Bane a little bit less subservient to Talia.
Because, again, we saw that she found him. It's not like they...
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Which makes sense. And, again, I want to put this in perspective, folks. A lot of the time, and this is why it was a neat idea in Rises, despite where it ultimately went. But, again, tying Bane into the Al Ghul family was based on a really great story in the comics where, again, his origin isn't tied into them, but the idea is like years later, you take Batman's most physically menacing foe, and he meets one of the debatably only foe more formidable than the Joker and Ra's al Ghul, and these two very intelligent foes are working together. So that was the idea. That was what was kind of terrifying and really cool about that crossover, and that's what they did in the book, and that's where they got the idea for Dark Knight Rises. So we're kind of doing that here as well. But again, it's like they just come across each other, not just tied to each other's origin. Mm-hmm. So, point being, the other reason the other likely reason they really didn't go with Talia, again, the Rise thing, because again, they have so many on the nose references. What's one more? But I think the bigger reason they didn't use Talia is because traditionally, when you think Talia al Ghul, again, she's the go-to of the Al Ghul sisters, as you imagine. Like, you didn't know her off the top of your head. You're not alone with that. Nisa's like, if you know the things, then you're gonna know Nisa, because Ra's al Ghul, like Vandal Savage has sired children throughout the ages. He sires a bunch of children throughout the decades.
Also, another reason I feel like they didn't go with Talia is you were just touching on, the fact that she's a big shipping item for Bruce Wayne.
And that's what I was about to get to. Yeah. So
yeah. So that's another. Anyways, go ahead.
No, that's exactly it, because that she would have been a little too old for him, and therefore, basically, if you think Talia, you're
And
going to think
obviously,
someone.
it's a little too late to throw in like, "Hey, this woman wants complete revenge on Bruce Wayne, but she's gonna marry him one day." You know.
Obviously, so yeah, it basically would have been. There's obviously a bit of an age difference, and it would have basically, if you think Talia, I'll tell you, would have to be closer to the age range of Bruce. So that's why they're kind of saying like, hey, we never met. We didn't meet Talia, therefore, in the future show that we're never going to see, maybe the other daughter of Ra's al Ghul doesn't hate Bruce Wayne as much.
Mm-hmm.
Point being, though, so they need if they want to do a Ra's al Ghul tie-in, therefore they use the other daughter who doesn't have as much of a following. Basically, the only other Nisa al Ghul that's prominent is Arrow. That's the only other real Nisa al Ghul that we've gotten. And just to keep it simple, I don't want to go down the whole rabbit hole, so to keep it simple. On on Arrow, they did both. They did both daughters, but they didn't know they were ever going to get to Talia. So they kind of Nisa acts like Talia, and then down the line, we do Talia, and she's kind of like Nisa. They pulled a weird switcheroo on them, but again, good performance on her. Though. I'll give her that. So she's anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, point being, so we reveal it's Nisa al Ghul, daughter of Ra's al Ghul, and she has an obvious bone to pick with Bruce Wayne as she reveals the beginning of what I want. You know, says, "Well, what do you want?" She reveals that she Sorry, I was trying to remember how exactly the scene went here. Oh, she says this is the beginning of what I want. So this specifically torturing Bruce Wayne is the beginning of what she wants, and she'll go into the plan a little bit later on. So we'll get there.
I mean, it's basically kind of like an elongated version of the whole Dark Knight Rises. Like, you know, like when Gotham is ashes, then you have my permission to die.
Pretty much, yeah. Here's the thing: it's a less convoluted version of it. If you really want to read it, it's kind of a more direct version. It's a more economized version of it.
It's also a version which I thought they should have done in Dark Knight Rises to begin with, is have Bruce Wayne actually in Gotham as it's crumbling down around him. I think that would have been way more effective than separating him entirely from the situation, but I don't want to turn this into a Dark Knight Rises debate anyways.
Okay, the point being, just speaking of Rise is the one thing we should talk about with is, again, so obviously I was fearing, and with the whole reveal in itself, that's what we got to talk about. So the reveal in itself, so, I mean, how do you feel about them going with the whole Al Ghul thing?
I mean, I'm fine with it because at the very least, like, Ra's al Ghul definitely was a presence in the show for a couple seasons. You know, he never hit the status of like being the main villain of a season or anything, but he was there, and I like that we're addressing him not just in the context of Bruce, but also Barbara as well. You know, we get some callback to that storyline. So, if anything, I like that it kind of closes the loop on some things that have been established in the show. I'm not opposed to it.
I mean, that's the thing. Again, my big fear was, again, the minute I was thinking who this Walker lady is, and again, I was thinking for a moment I entertained, like, again, if we have Bane this season, it would kind of stand to reason. Again, if they do Bane, they do a Rises thing, we have this lady who's in league with Bane, therefore she could be Talia al Ghul. I was saying, no, they're not going to do that. But again, there was a chance of it, and I was fearing that they don't, I don't know, because obviously Rise is a little divisive amongst people, and of course, like, oh, they're doing the whole. But I was so far so good is what I'm getting at. So far so good, and I think Jane Murray, again, she's a decent choice for the role. Again, at least for like one of the lesser of the two Al Ghul daughters, they can't really miss there. It's nothing really to offend. She sounds like, you know, like how Ra's al Ghul's daughters would sound. And the plan's a lot simpler, and the cool thing about it that on a rewatch that really kind of sings even better is the fact that her plan ultimately, specifically her plan, does correlate exactly what Ra's al Ghul's vision was at the end of season 4. So they're completing what they set into motion at the end of season 4, which we'll get to when we get to the scene. But so the point is, it plays a lot better than I ever thought it would. I just want to give it major points there, you know?
Sure.
So, you know, she's saying, I'm going to continue the Shadow's work of purging weakness and corruption from the city, which is basically that's kind of standard Ra's al Ghul stuff. You know, you kind of tear the city down, tear the weakness down, just get rid of all the corruption, kind of start anew. That's pretty much League of Assassins 101, League of Shadows 101. Bruce, and she reveals that Bruce can't take all the blame because we reveal that hey, Bruce, in season 4 when Ra's died, even before we had kind of the last moments with Ra's there, Barbara grabbed Bruce's hands because only Bruce holding the knife could kill Ra's. Basically, rammed the knife into Ra's, therefore it was kind of a two-man job. However, I do point out that Ra's did want to die earlier in that season by Bruce's hand, so I wonder if maybe...
Yes, that's a good point.
Here's the weird thing, okay? So, obviously, that's the one flaw in this whole plan, but I did find a way around this. I mean, you can tell me if this buys any of it back for you. It could just be
Okay.
maybe. But, so, Ra's did want to die by Bruce's hand because he was tired of living forever, obviously. And then, of course, he was brought back by the League and by Barbara, technically. Well, ipso facto, by Barbara's actions. And then Ra's kind of went along with it because then he saw a vision. He had a vision when he came back. And of course, the vision is basically season 5 of Gotham. He wanted to put that vision into motion. And again, knowing what happens, to put that vision into motion, he has to die again. So again, the point is he still wanted to die twice, I guess. Sorry, let me rephrase that. The point being, Ra's, he probably could have survived to ensure what happens at the end of this episode, but even if he didn't, it's the fact that he was killed that second time, and that's the time that she's taken into account. So I think that's what it's like. Ra's didn't necessarily want to die that second time, but again, he found renewed life, I guess. So I guess that's what offended her. So the point being, like, she hears that her father was killed by these two people. Therefore, she's taking into account the second death before the first death. So I guess that's really what it is, right?
Yeah, I think it was the second death for sure.
Right.
Okay. So she orders Bane to go kill Barbara, and we get this chilly moment with Bane where Gordon's like, Eduardo, she's pregnant with a child. And then Bane just stops. This is a very Tom Hardy Bane moment, too. He's like, a child. One soul's future weighed against the entire world's. Your concern seems petty, Jim.
But seriously, I want to give major points to Shane. People are loving Shane West, by the way, as Bane. I gotta tell you, I think
he's good. He's good for sure.
Did a good job. He's bringing the gravitas and he's bringing the body language too. He's not just doing all the Bane stuff that Hardy's done. He's bringing a strength, but kind of a direct. Basically, he's bringing like an unstoppable object kind of strength there. Like the guy's just nothing's taking him down. All right. So of course, Gordon's like, if you hurt that child, I'm gonna take all you have. And she has nothing but I have nothing but I have nothing but my mission now, and he wants you to join it. Of course, Gordon says he'll never join. Of course, we have this great moment where our guy pops up, Tiki.
It's almost kind of like a jump scare. It's like Hugo Strange just pops up like, "Hello."
Never say never. And Hugo Strange injects Jim, knocks him out. Like, yes, Tiki, that's a perfect Hugo Strange right there. It's the guy who shows up and injects you, and it's like, yeah, that's a fully formed Hugo Strange, and I love it. It's great.
Yeah, Hugo Strange is very on brand this episode, absolutely.
So, and of course, Nisa has this great line where she says, how's it feel, Bruce? Knowing that it's all your fault. It's a great line.
Tell me, I'd really like to know.
That's the that's the thing Jamie Murray's bringing to the role. Again, it's like she's kind of bringing you feel the gravitas, but still she's kind of bringing a little bit of that personality. It's really basically she brings how personally she really hates Bruce Wayne for killing her father, even though again it was kind of half and half his fault. Like she's just bringing like the person again. It's a lot better than she was as Lilo and Dexter. I just want to give it that. I think she was a lot better than that. Like, this is a role she should have played, man. Anyway, so
we'll give you that. She was that was probably the weakest villain in Dexter in the early run of the show, at the very least.
I mean, we had the main. That's the weird. It always bugged me how season 2 of Dexter ended. We end with her in that moment there because we need like that last surprising kill of Dexter, and of course we have to involve her because she was introduced in the season, right?
Sure.
Anyway.
I still disagree about your dislike of Dokes, but that's an entirely different rabbit hole conversation.
Look, again, I'm not saying he was a bad character. I'm just saying taste-wise. We're drifting.
Surprise, motherfucker!
That's the kind of stuff. It just feels like non-clever Mr. T. I don't know. Anyway.
That's the point, was that Dokes thought he was Mr. T in his own head. But in reality, he was just a big buff dork. Anyway.
back on point. So Barbara's in tremendous pain. Of course, we're in no man's land, which means no drugs, no anesthetics, because they've all either been used or stolen, or the point is they're not around. Because again, the reunification hasn't fully happened yet. It still hasn't. It's like it's in its adolescence with the military. They haven't called in all the backup and medications and support and stuff. So then the Riddler shows up, and we have this little moment between the Riddler and Lee, and of course, knowing what happened.
Don't worry, I'm not here for you. But for the record, you tried to kill me first.
Man, I love that history that they have, and the fact that again, it's a little moment there where again, like Edward Nygma, he does care for Lee Tompkins, and she measured up to him intellectually. Therefore, he respected her and he cared for her. They had a whole romance going on. Of course, going back to the whole Kristen Kringle thing, they've been in each other's lives since the first season. It's all
sure.
So let's see. So then, of course, then it's basically Penguin and Riddler show up, and Penguin they want the part. They want the they want the valve. They want the pressure valve. Of course, says, what's the part's name? It's the pressure valve. The pressure valve. So, of course, we had a lot of double-cross comedy here. It says, you stole the part. Well, you only found out because you were trying to double-cross me.
Oh, you only noticed because you tried to screw me over first. Second, technically.
Love that. Love niggas defending himself here. Well, we were second, then we have the funniest gag, I think, in the episode right here.
Yes, absolutely. Probably, maybe one of the biggest laugh-out-loud moments of the season, honestly.
This is hysterical. God. So we have this thing. Penguin, he brings a gun to threaten her to get the part. So he pulls out a gun. Of course, Lee is just like, she's in between. He also reveals the whole leaving Gotham plan. So now Lee knows about the leaving Gotham plan, why she wanted to leave so fast. So Penguin pulls out the gun, and we just have this small really Lee's like, don't point that at the baby. And of course, Penguin's going, well, I'm not pointing at the baby.
I'm not pointing at baby. It's just kind of like a general threatening gesture.
With a firearm.
I was just like, no, she's right. You were pointing at the baby.
So Penguin's just being, I love this. Even Penguin's being political.
All right, I'm sorry.
Fine, I'm sorry. Now, here's the thing, cracks me better, okay? The way it reads to me is that he's yelling, I'm sorry to the baby. Cracks me better. You'll notice his angle there, so he's saying it to Barbara. I think they're trying to get to, just to say it to Barbara. It really looks like he's just saying it to the baby. He's like, I'm sorry.
Oh.
It's so funny. The fact that I just love the fact that again Penguin's like, there's a bit of an honor because he's not going to kill a baby, and at the same time he's like, you know what? No, I'm not. Obviously, I wouldn't do that. But again, it's almost like we're in no man's land. Why are we worrying about being politically correct at this point?
Right.
Anyway, so let's.
So we get a green line from Barbara, like, I'm not going to tell you where the part is, and if you want to torture me, that's fine. Because literally nothing can be as painful as what I'm going through right now.
I love how Aaron Richards just delivered right now. I just love how uncomfortable. Just after all the contractions, I just love how uncomfortable the Penguin is. Like, oh man, why am I here? It's just so uncomfortable being in the delivery. Anyway, so as this happens, we should get to our root image now.
The rune image? Okay. All right.
So as this is going on, Bane enters. And we have this gag that still cracks me up. And this is like, again, I love how threatening Bane is, yet we have this bit. And this bit I've loved ever since the promo. I think it was the first trailer for the show they used this shot. Bane just walks into the place. And he dings the little service bell.
Yes.
I love that he dings. He's like throwing nurses around and everything. He's like crashing into the place. He's like dings the bell, then grabs a little PA thing. It's a great shot. I love it.
Uh-huh.
Again, that's like an original version of a Hardy beat. Like, but Hardy would do stuff like that. It was kind of like a new kind of form of that where he would ding the bell. It's like Bane's like, what a lovely, lovely voice. Like his equation that is equivalent to that. It's like, he's gonna go in there. He's gonna ding the bell before he makes his demands.
It's like he's going to tear the place up, but he's going to be polite about it, man. He's going to have manners about it.
All right, so he has this great, he has this great, again, this is where the voice really, really sounds good to me here. Basically, like the best line I think he has in the whole thing. Barbara Keene, you cannot run, you cannot hide, you cannot run from your sins or from me. Essentially, it's kind of what it gets to. It's a really great bit. So he's just basically saying, I just love it. It's basically this guy crashed crashes into the place with armed men, and he walks up, and I love the staging is too, like where we have like this big kind of spiral staircase, I guess, going up. He's looking up, and basically the image we had before is he's looking up at this little microphone, echoing his already kind of filtered voice, which is kind of it's a good idea. And basically saying to Barbara again, who's just, she killed Ra's al Ghul, yeah, so again, it's like things she's kind of brushed under the rug since then. Again, she's in the middle of her own stuff right now, and just being reminded, like, you cannot run from your sins. I'm going to kill you, pregnant lady, wherever you are. And imagine how terrified you would be right now. Just your family, like, oh God. So you're having a baby, Penguin and Riddler are coming, and then top it off, this new guy, you have no idea who it is. Just enters the fray, and he's like, I'm gonna look for you, I'm gonna kill you, you can't hide. It's like the Terminator in a Bane mask walks in, and you're a goner. It's like, I just love that we have that oh no face on Barbara. It's like where the commercial cuts, like, oh no.
Oh no.
All right. Meanwhile, we have this scene between Nyssa and Bruce here. Nyssa's telling Bruce about
Special Order 386.
Yes, 386. So basically, now this, I really love about the world building of 386, Tiki. I love that 386 suggests that the government knows how bad off Gotham is, and basically always had had contingency to wipe out Gotham if the criminal element grew too vast in Gotham. That to me is just kind of like a sad thing about, and it suggests that there's no hope for Gotham in a pre-Batman world. And I love that idea that, again, Batman's going to kind of get the place into shape where it won't have an order like that on its head,
Mm-hmm.
It just shows you how the world just kind of gave up on Gotham, was always prepared to give up on Gotham no matter what Jim Gordon did in the city. I mean, that's a really interesting idea, I thought. I love how it comes into play. I love it's like, again, the hopelessness is kind of what's going to do Gotham in before it's like the literal thing that's going to do Gotham. I love that's what puts it into play even before she gets involved in things. I think that's a really neat idea. And that's how you can, and she's using that to her advantage.
All right, then I'm sorry, Dragon. This is where we get the whole the equivalent to "you have my permission to die." She's basically like, it is what I want from you, Bruce Wayne, is to watch you suffer. And then you can die.
Yes. And she wants, Gotham's going to be leveled. She wants them to suffer, then die, and starting soon. It's all starting really soon.
Spend a little time with that thought.
Great scene. I gotta tell you, it's a good scene. Again, in a perfect world, again, where we might have, again, what they're doing here that Rises didn't do is that Rises had like as a last minute third act reveal. We're here. Bear in mind, we're getting close to the end of the season, sure, but as we're introducing Bane, we're introducing her again, she was kind of set up as well with the whole Walker thing. So basically, she is as well as Eduardo. They're both kind of on even footing in terms of their introduction. Therefore, it's now like we have one guy doing all the stuff that we introduce. The person who's really doing it all the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
It's all relative. And again, I'm not getting into all the old Rises debate because again, we can go down a rabbit hole. We're just gonna let's just stick.
Oh yeah, we could.
Just gonna stick on point here. Anyway, okay, so then we're back at the hospital, and we have I just love this too, by the way. I love we have these four characters, just kind of like these four characters fleeing from Bane's, these four just kind of adolescent. Again, it's a great pairing of characters here. We have Lee, Barbara, one of which who's tried to kill the other. We have Penguin and Riddler, one of each who has also tried to kill another on several occasions.
Multiple times.
And of course, Lee. You look at any correlation; they all know each other in some way, shape, or form, and it's great.
Via trying to murder the other one.
Yes, I mean the only two who haven't tried to kill each other.
Enigma and Lee have tried to murder each other.
The only two who haven't tried to kill each other was Lee and the Penguin. Those are the only two. Who haven't tried to kill
exactly.
Each other.
That's literally.
They're on the best terms. And again, they know each other through Jim, and of course, I guess vice versa. I mean, by some approximation.
What a bizarre friend group, Dragon. What a bizarre group of mutual friends.
We always have these four just of course, one of them pregnant in a wheelchair, so they're trying to get out of there. One of these, fleeing from this crazy Terminator guy, just going to burst into the hospital. Barbara, basically, she says she has the part, and of course, if she dies, that means you don't escape because you don't know where the part is. She says she doesn't have the part on her. That's at least what she says.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, they're asking if only we had two strong men to kind of buy us some time. It says, why on earth will we do that? Chivalry! As she's going through. like chivalry. It was oh no, just Penguin's just laughing off how ridiculous it is. But Riddler, Riddler after the logic is pointed out to him that again you need me to escape. Riddler volunteers to hold him up, probably to save Lee first and foremost. If we're being honest.
Mm-hmm.
But Riddler volunteers to hold Bane off, much to Penguin's shock, and unfortunately, they don't have. They weren't prepared for a military assault, so they don't have enough for like kind of a light firefight. So like, what are we gonna do? We don't have enough. We don't have enough guns for this, and of course, like, what are we gonna use? Bedpans, and then of course, Enigma has a moment of brilliance here. He looks around, he says, "I was thinking something more flammable." And we see all these oxygen tanks, these very flammable oxygen tanks on the side, and basically they have this kind of this buddies look. Remember, they look at each other like this is what I love about these guys. They don't even need a word of dialogue. They just give each other a look of like, oh, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Jim awakens in Hugo Strange's lab with the general. General has like a curtain kind of put up in front of him for a really good story reason for later on. But this is a great scene. Again, this is a tremendous Hugo Strange scene right here. It's Hugo Strange. Hugo Strange is in control of this scene, man. Jim is suggesting that Hugo Strange helps him. Why don't you untie me and help so that you can help yourself as you always do. Let me rephrase that. Jim suggests that you help me. So you join. You're on the wrong side, Strange. Join me, and you'll do what you do best. You survive. Strange's response to this?
You're putting me on the spot with dialogue. Having on me.
Point being, Hugo Strange is he thinks more. He's favoring the Al Ghul's chance. He's favoring Miss Al Ghul's chances more, and of course, a little indicative of the Arkham games. Of course, in the Arkham games, Hugo Strange is in league with the Al Ghul, so it's kind of
very true. Very true.
A little neat, kind of getting
everything. I think a Miss Al Ghul's chances better than a man that's in your position.
Yes. So with Hugo Strange's help, she can. I guess the idea is that with Hugo Strange's help, she can take on an army. She can take on an army with multiple Banes. Honestly, with Bane alone, but again, it's implying again with Hugo Strange, and she can make more people into other Banes. Again, Eduardo wants essentially a Bane buddy in Jim Gordon.
Bane buddy.
There's the Tom Hanks show we really need right now. Instead of bosom buddies, Bane buddies.
It's like a traditional laugh track sitcom, except they've all got the face masks and talking the hoity-toity Tom Hardy robotic voice.
It's Shane West, and it's you got Shane West, and you have Ben McKenzie just wearing masks.
Oh God!
Hey Bane, how was your day? That was fine. Yours? Anyway.
All right,
no, in all seriousness. But again, I like that Hugo Strange is kind of in the league. Again, he's back remember, he's back the core of Al's ipso facto. It means he was kind of backing, Ra's al Ghul and company. So again, he's always been kind of on the Al Ghul side from the whole time. So that's kind of neat. Anyway, so let's see. So Hugo Strange has Jim's in a helpless position right now. The idea is he's about to be transformed against his will into essentially into another proto Bane again to join the fight. And then his brain's going to be reprogrammed with a brain chip, as Nigma and Lee were earlier in the season. So let's see. Oh, he gives the same line about unlocking, going to unlock your potential, and that takes all right. So I'm going to unlock your potential and your true strength. He gives him the same line.
And also the same line about it will be very excruciating and also very lengthy.
It's a great. Again, I like how we're harkening back to the opening of the episode too. It's almost like a little mystery that's kind of being duplicated, like kind of another theme there, I guess.
Oh my! I'm getting into motifs.
Let's see. I mean, that's the other. I'm sorry. The other cool thing with Strange too is that the way Strange ends up again is kind of the way he was introduced in the comics too. So again, the whole kind of 40s Batman angle we had this season, we're kind of keeping it going with him. I just wanted to mention that too. All right. So of course, Gordon saying never. He doesn't want to do it. And says consent is hardly a prerequisite.
That's Hugo Strange right there, man. I'm loving it. Hugo Strange is very on brand this episode.
Yes. All right. So meanwhile, Penguin and Riddler, they send the bomb Bane's way. Via like kind of basically oxygen tank propelled wheel.
Bomb.
Yeah, and again, I'd like to think that's them referencing the bomb thing. It'd be cool if it was. Big old wheelchair bomb Bane's way explodes. All the men are taken out except Bane, who walks through the fire, and it's freaking awesome.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, that's an iconic
And
shot.
one could say, the fire rises.
Oh god. Yep, one could say that.
Okay. Meanwhile, okay, now we're gonna get to the let's get to the fun image, Tiki.
Okay, okay. Oh hell
Then,
yes.
Barbara and Lee are making their escape. Oh god, it's just great. Steel, eat your heart out. All right, Steel. I mean, look, I know that the one good part of the Steel movie was that wheelchair, but let's face it, this is better.
I don't think that, for the record, I don't think that wheelchair, I thought that wheelchair was hokey as hell, at least in the Nostalgia Critic review from what they pointed out about it, but
Oh,
that's,
he loved the wheelchair in that.
anyways.
So, point being, so Lee and Barbara, they're making their escape, and of course, they're armed bad guys throughout the hallway, armed mercenaries throughout the hallway, and of course, we have Barbara with basically this insane image before a pregnant lady, hasn't delivered yet, pregnant lady with wielding dual pistols as her delivering doctor is kind of like shielding herself behind the pregnant lady, armed to the teeth, and directing the wheelchair behind, taking out guys left and right.
I love how Lee is literally like aiming Barbara at the people attacking them.
Well, using her as like a turret or something.
Right.
All right, let's see. So, just insane, but a lot of fun. All right, let's see. Oh yes. Okay, so let's see. So they make their escape. They're taking guys out. Meanwhile, Bruce is trying to make his escape via the old candle rope trick. Or basically,
This is great. This is classic Batman right here. This is straight out of the 60s.
tied to a chair. He's just kind of leaping his way over there, and he's kind of burning through the ropes. Meanwhile, Riddler and Penguin have a really great moment here where let's see, it's oh yes, so it's just basically Riddler. I'm sorry, you might want to have. I don't have the riddle here. Do you have the riddle that the Riddler gives?
Give me 1 second.
Basically, they've cowered in fear from Bane. They made their way out of it. They call it a distraction. That's all their job. That's all their job.
All right, I got it. I got it. Hold on. Sorry.
It poses a riddle to the Penguin, which goes a little something like.
Sorry. Hold on. I'm trying to get the timing right on these closed captions. Okay, here we go. Sorry. Some try to hide, some try to cheat, but time will always let us meet. What am I? A pregnant lady with a gun? Death, but close enough.
Great line. So then we reveal that Riddler all the time had the sub part. He found the sub part in Barbara's bag, and he had it. And it's just, you basically revealing that he knew that she was bluffing, that she had on her person. And of course, Penguin brings up the really great point that, wait, you mean we risked our lives? Are you telling me we risked our lives for Barbara or Lee, or was it for Lee? And of course, Riddler brings up the excellent counterpoint, like, do you really want me to answer that, or do you want to sail out of here? Bon voyage!
Bon voyage!
And meanwhile, Babs, she's all right. Babs, they have this hysterical Babs bit here. It's just really funny here. Oh god. Basically, she
damn sub part. You mean stole it back? Whose side are you on?
It's funny. So whose side are you on again? She's.
Well, I'm clearly on the baby side, Barbara.
Lee reminds Barbara that that Jim's not taking the baby away, and hence Barbara's fear that again, like she says, "Look, face facts, Lee. Jim Gordon, the captain of the GCPD, with the criminal raising his kid. You think he'd let that happen?" And Lee makes the point that being strong doesn't mean being a criminal. I know you're strong. I know you can be strong. You don't necessarily have to be a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, then we have your favorite line.
Is it?
Yeah, the anti thing.
What now?
The anti-Lee. This is your anti-Lee.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah. Hi, this is your Auntie Lee. Mommy tried to kill her once, maybe twice.
Sitting there having a good laugh about it, and of course after that,
And Dragon Knight, like it's like throughout the season, we've had at least 3 or 4 callbacks to this whole like, oh ha 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 ha. Isn't it funny that I tried to kill you back in season 2?
it's a nice moment to kind of diffuse the tension as well as it kind of acknowledge the ridiculousness of it all. It's really fun. So then Lee has to deliver the baby on the spot. Thank goodness there was a stretcher right there.
I know, right? I was about to say, yeah, that's a great coincidence.
But again, they're in a hospital, and of course, like an ambulance close by, so it's.
I thought they were gonna actually go into the ambulance. That would have been another way to do it.
Yeah. So, so Lee's delivering a baby. Meanwhile, Bruce escapes, and this is awesome. Oh my god! So as he's escaping, a few League of Shadows guys gonna come up there, and Bruce escapes, and as he escapes at the moment there, he kind of burns through the ropes. He takes out the 2 guys awesomely, and he uses basically one of the guys there. And this is a classic League of Assassins thing, by the way. They're armed with some of them armed with tranquilizer dart guns. Again, we saw used on them earlier. Well, that Bruce kind of turns it against the other guy and kind of knocks him out. And he takes the tranquilizer gun, so that way we give him a weapon that is not obviously a traditional gun, but kind of something kind of in that Batman framework. So we're getting them there. Mm-hmm. So really cool, and just the way he takes him out and just does that too. So of course now he's kind of armed with a trank gun, looking for Jim and the General. And, well, first off, he radios Alfred. He uses the radio. He radios Alfred where he is. Tells him where he is, and that, but he needs to get to the clinic to save Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Hugo Strange gives Juggy. So now he begins the process. And this is gonna be interesting to see where it goes from here because so here's what happens. So Hugo Strange gives Jim. He gives him a stimulant to basically, so it's kind of a 2-part thing. He gives him a stimulant so he can take on the Venom formula. Venom formula, obviously, that's going to be the painful, the extremely long and painful thing. It's going to basically kind of the ultimate steroid then steroids. It's going to kind of rewrite his blood and everything. It's going to be really nasty stuff. But he needs a stimulant to kind of keep him awake for all that to happen. It'll be excruciating. I've given you a stimulant to prepare for.
Hugo Strange really likes using the word excruciating in this episode. I noticed that.
He does. I wonder if B.D. Wong's wanted to play an evil scientist just ever since Jurassic Park. You gotta wonder if that's the route he always wanted to play, and just like, yeah, it's just kind of I play this really nice and friendly guy in the first Jurassic Park, and I always wanted to kind of go deep and go. Anyway. So Jim, so here's the thing. So he's already been injected by a stimulant, and the idea. So Hugo Strange turns the machine on, and we see the green, the same green chemical from earlier on, begins to pump in there, and again, it kind of gets, presumably, it gets the Jim a little bit because what happens is he kicks Hugo Strange before the Venom presumably before the Venom overtakes him, but he frees himself. But again, by kicking Strange, he frees himself, and he kind of throws Strange across the room. And again, the way Jim throws him suggests to me that a little bit of the venom got into his system. So I wonder if it's going to be like
that's what I thought too. Yeah, it's like I feel like it's like, it's not full on like giving him powers or anything, but it's maybe like a little bit of enhanced strength.
That's the question. The question is like how much. I wonder if it's going to be a plot point. Is what I'm getting at. Like I would wonder if we gave Jim a little bit of strength so he can go toe-to-toe with Bane in the next go-around. That's what I think they might have done.
Right. I could see that.
At least enough, because obviously he didn't go through the whole thing. We still got a little bit of it in there, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. All right. So the point is that Hugo Strange is a really great kind of line of cowardice here. So, kind of classic Hugo Strange. He basically finds an excuse and he flees here. There's that fighting spirit, and then he leaves. Just let me come in.
There's that fighting spirit I've admired in you all these years.
Of course, you got a question. The question is it the mad scientist bargaining for his life, or is it him actually paying him a compliment before he leaves? So Jim checks the general, checks his head for any brain surgery marks where he would have put the chip. He doesn't find anything. Then we meet up with Bruce, and he tells him about the whole 386 plan. The general says he can stop it, but they have to, basically the general can stop it. Then we reveal, unbeknownst to Bruce and Gordon, that he's been chipped. His eyes eyes do the weird kind of way of the eyes.
Oh no, he's tethered.
Right.
I'm sorry. Anyways.
Anyway, so we reveal that Barbara had a little baby girl.
Who is, I'm really hoping that she's also going to be named Barbara Dragon.
Of course, that's the interesting thing, because we have a bit here where she says, I haven't figured out the name quite yet. So basically, we just need to see her. What I think I know what they're going for here. I think.
What
Okay,
if Lee suggests that they name her Barbara?
no, I know it. Tiki, it has to be Gordon has to suggest showing that he has faith in her. That's what. Yeah, that's where he's going to get.
Okay, I can see that. I can see
That's
that.
why I think they're delaying it. Otherwise, why not just call her Barbara? Maybe it's because it's a little too easy. Maybe because we're just going to be followed by a Bane interruption. Maybe that's why. Point being, though, I think it's going to be Gordon having the idea to call her Barbara.
What if it's just like Jane or something like that? Just nothing related to the comics at all.
Yeah, well, given the fact that it's a girl, and of course a lot of Batgirl fans out there, I think they're going to be like, come on, really? Watch the whole show? Anyone who's just unaware of James Jr., they're just going to be thinking of like, hey, well, because again, the instant thought of Gordon having a kid, you're thinking of Batgirl, because again, James Jr. is like development, like 2011. That's when he really came back. So for years, it's Barbara Gordon. Anyway. So, like, oh, it's 5 years and we still don't get, like, again, we know we weren't going to get her full force, but still, man, if he's going to have a kid, it's got to be bad.
Right.
Anyway, so Bane drops in, very literally, literally just drops in. He jumps from, I guess, from the upper level.
If you were having.
Yes. All right, then, let's see, we have... Oh, yes. So we have an Arkham Asylum reference here. It's really cool. So in Arkham Asylum, Bane's the way we take out Bane in the Arkham Asylum game is the Batman has the Batmobile on autopilot, just ram into him and kind of knock him into the water. It's kind of how that goes. It's really cool little bits. They kind of homage that here, where Alfred in the car, he rams Bane just full force. to save Lee and Barbara, and they get him in the car.
That's one way to take him down.
Oh yeah, so they save Lee and Barbara. They tell them to get in the car, so they drive off. But Selena and Alfred, so as they escape, it's Alfred and Selena going on to go up against Bane. And trust me, it's a tall order. It's not going to be easy.
Here's what I love about this scene. I love that it starts out as like a typical like Alfred badass moment, right? It's like we even get a little bit of comedy. Like I love Alfred calling Bane a quote unquote bloody baby bully.
Oh yeah.
Come here, you bloody baby bully. But then the scene takes a dark turn really quick.
Because he's literally a baby bully. He's bullying the little baby who's about to...
I love that offends Alfred on like a deep level.
It does. Of course, Alfred protect her children. Well, except for the one buddies. Anyway. No, but in all seriousness, though, it was a really great bit. Alfred makes a very brave attempt here where he gets a few really good punches in, like right off the bat. But it's a no-go because he's going up against frickin' Bane or frickin' Proto-Bane. And then he is beaten mercilessly. And my God. And again, I called this from the promo here. It's like predicting, like, oh yeah, they're going this route. So, well, I guess we'll find it officially next episode, but I think it's pretty safe to say what happens here.
Alfred is basically a back break.
Yes, I mean, Alfred's beaten mercilessly, and basically we have the Bane's finishing move here. He lifts him in the air on kind of a back-breaking pose, but he throws him into the pole instead of over his knee. It's the difference. But
I like that. That's a good kind of change of pace.
It is, because again, that's the thing I was fear. Ever since they announced Bane for the season, my biggest fear is going to be, oh no, he's going to pick up Bruce Wayne. He's going to do the back.
And honestly, I think having it be Alfred is like the perfect substitute. I really like this direction.
It is for a very good reason that I'm convinced they have to be going, and otherwise it's going to be a little random, but it's a really great reason. If they stick the landing, I think it's going to be perfect, where Alfred's back is broken against the steel pipe, and we have this bit where Selena's kind of helplessly calling out for help for Alfred on the ground there. Again, kind of homaging how she could have done that with the Waynes way back when, but she's doing that with Alfred now, again, after all the bonding they've had.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. I didn't even consider that thematic tie.
We have her in the helpless position all the way back there. All right, we should go to let's go to the root image just to make sure we get in there.
Go to who?
Let's go to the root image just to basically this to the end to make sure we get in there.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
So we head back to the army base. We're gonna we head back to the army base where Bullock's giving Gordon the good news about the baby. Like, hey, did you hear? It's a baby girl. Hooray! And let's see. So basically, it looks like I'm sorry, I was trying to remember the. Oh right. So there's a lot of disbelief in that. Hey, we won. We won. The baby's been born, and now we got the general here. And of course, there's obviously some little bit of disbelief in there. And of course, as the general puts in the call, we reveal he's called in. Again, we reveal that he's been shipped and he's called in Order 386, much to Bruce Wayne's horror. Like, no! So then Gordon Bullock and Bruce are then arrested by the general. Again, they're outgunned, they're outmanned, and it's like, they're in trouble to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Meanwhile, back at the Sirens. Barbara and Lee, they're going there to lay low, and they find that all of Barbara's girls, all of her League of Assassins girls, by the way, all the assassins were. This is the cool.
Oh, really? Really? I didn't even catch that.
I mean, that's what they're supposed to be. They're
Still
supposed
around.
to be, remember, all the female ladies from the League of Assassins, or like League of Shadows, I guess, whichever. The idea is like all of them were her. Those were all of her bodyguards. It was kind of sword armed and everything.
Oh, okay.
And this is the cool thing about
that in our recaps, but I gotcha.
The cool thing about this is that they were there, but they never really. Again, they never addressed the fact that they were the same girls. But again, presumably they were the same girls from the end of season 4.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
And I think they were armed with swords and knives, which again is very indicative of the League of Assassins. Therefore, point being. The cool thing is that we reveal they're all dead on the floor, and we see Nisa knocks out Lee, and she's holding the knife. His blood covering up. Guys, she killed all. This one woman single-handedly killed every single one of them. Again, so she's definitely her father's daughters. That's really imposing. And then she walks up and she greets. She says, you must be Barbara." She greets Barbara, and she greets the baby. I think she puts her hand on the baby's head or something. It's like, oh god,
that's creepy.
It is. So then our trio, of course, Gordon Bullock and Bruce, they realize the general's been chipped, and it must have been like the neck or something. They must have hit it. And Nisa's foiled them. Nisa's she's gotten the drop on them. She planned this. She wanted them to save the general. Therefore, the general basically Trojan horse the general way back there. And of course, it's a really good plan. That's the thing you got to give it major points for. It's a really good plan. And we have this great bit with Gordon here as they're kind of having this conversation. Gordon, it's a classic JG moment here, if you will. It's a classic Jim Gordon moment where he says, "Son, if you're going to stick that gun in my face, you should know you're doing it wrong." Of course, the kid looks for him at his gun, and Gordon knocks him.
I like that. It's just kind of like a brief, like, well, you know what? This guy probably knows what he's talking about, so maybe I should listen to him. It's like, nope.
Yep. All right, so then, of course, as he does that, now they're about to make their escape and make their next move. Before they can do it, again, Order 386 has been called in. Helicopters enter the city.
I'm just glad that this isn't Order 66.
Well, yeah, I know that's the obvious thing to go to, and I don't. They probably, I don't know. So they have ordered this, and I don't know. It's probably 6 inspired, but I don't know. Anyway, so helicopters are firing upon Gotham, like big explosions all over the place. The point is, Gotham is currently on fire, which I want to remind you is exactly what Ra's al Ghul, his vision was. It was Gotham City on fire. So we're fulfilling the vision of Ra's al Ghul right here. So we have the most hopeless. Things are looking again. This is the most hopeless state we've ever seen Gotham in right now. It's on fire and being destroyed, being fired upon by helicopters. So Gotham is now a literal war zone.
Yeah, nice way to end it off with 2 episodes left. Definitely raises the stakes pretty high for the end game of it all.
Oh, yeah. All right, promo. Not a lot in the
promo. What do we got?
A promo. Everyone's united, and kind of that wall shot we had at the the very start of the season. Looks like we're definitely going to be starting there next episode. That's what we're
okay. Cool. So that means we have multiple episodes post that. That's cool.
Now again, there's entirely possible there's blending the 2 episodes together to keep people guessing, but I'm assuming they're being straightforward with it. So far they have been. So far in the marketing they have been. I'm inclined to believe that the next episode's going to be the wall link up shot. It's always day 391. That'll be next episode. Bruce is wearing armor. He's wearing he's wearing armor. He's getting his gadgets together. So again, he's in like another he's getting more and more
coming closer.
And he has this great line where he tells Selena, Selena says, "This is crazy, Bruce," and his response is, "It's time to protect Gotham. It's time I started protecting Gotham." So yes,
nice.
We have some really, we see the wall shot. We have Jim fighting Nisa Al Ghul for a bit there. We see bats, man. We see bats.
Oh, really?
There are bats running through the city, like they're running around. They're basically these bats again, almost Mask of the Phantasm style, like from the crack in Wayne Manor when they all fly out of the cave when it forms. It's like bats flying. Bruce sees it. Bruce looks at them. So we have the omen of the bat, man. It's coming. Like not just the mind. We have a poison hour, having literal bat.
I shall don the symbol of a bat.
Yes. And then we have the last shot of the promo is like a bat against the moon. So like one of the bats is flying, kind of lingers on it, flying against the moon. So again,
nice.
Shots like yes. So that's the promo.
Awesome.
All right, so speculation.
Okay, Eck, what do you got?
Spec, I guess. Okay, Alfred. I think Alfred's going to be crippled for the finale. The point is, like, he's going to be taken out of the equation. Thematically, what we're doing, where we're going to end things, and the story reason we're doing all this, I think, really works for Alfred here. Is we're letting Bruce. Alfred has to let Bruce go solo in the field as Batman. That's kind of what we're facilitating here and getting into the classic place. Kind of Alfred, kind of less being the in the field butler that we've seen throughout the whole 5 seasons, and now he's going to be in kind of the traditionally Alfred's the guy kind of taking point from.
Oh, I like that call. I like that call. That literally it's a physical handicap that keeps him kind of stuck in the mansion.
Absolutely, and again, if in Earth One,
field if he would be.
Absolutely, like in Earth One, sometimes you have an Alfred with a cane. In Earth One, he lost a leg, therefore he needed a cane, and it's kind of like. Some versions, he's always when you have an active Alfred, like Beware the Batman had an Alfred like the Earth One Batman, like the Sean Pertwee Alfred, and the idea was that he was getting older and he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to get out in the field as much to protect him. So that was kind of an idea they run with. So again, I think it's a really great reason, again, a way to justify the back break in a better form, at least in a more story appropriate form for what they're doing.
Right.
As I mentioned, the big call is, again, Ra's al Ghul's vision is directly kind of fulfilled here. And, of course, Ra's al Ghul's vision in total was this. It was Gotham City on fire and the fact that the fire was going to work as a forge for the Dark Knight. Basically, a Dark Knight rising from the ashes. Kind of the Gotham on fire would forge a Dark Knight, which, of course, Dark Knight being Batman. Basically, I guess the greater prediction is that Ra's al Ghul's vision is being fulfilled by Nisa and Bane together, so that's neat. And also, of course, with the Alfred stuff, I think Bruce is definitely gonna have a score to settle with Bane next episode. I think they're gonna put that into play. That's how we're gonna get a big showdown between Batman and Bane, possibly. I think with that as well, I think all the events, all Nisa Al Ghul and the whole Ra's al Ghul of it all, and of course, remember, Bruce never quite shaking the fact that he did kill a man. Again, the one kill. And again, I love it. Again, at the end of the day, never in a million years would I think I'd be saying this. But again, this is really cool. Where, Bruce did technically kill Ra's al Ghul, but by the same token, Ra's al Ghul comes back from the dead. Therefore, it's kind of no harm, no foul. But the same token, Batman did kill somebody. And retroactively, it kind of occurred to me with this episode, what they're kind of doing. This whole season, we've been doing a lot of 40s early Batman stuff, and again, not giving the pretentious Tim Burton answer, but again, if we're doing a show where Batman, like the comics, in the very first year of Batman's creation, he did kill people. If we're doing that, this is a better version of doing that. Where he did kill one person, and he did learn from it. It's like a reason he will never kill anyone ever again, because he also helped create Ra's al Ghul. So it's like another, it's another. I don't know. So the point is like that, along with the stuff that's come from that, with Nisa Al Ghul coming back for revenge, saying all of this, basically all of No Man's Land, Gotham's destruction is Bruce's fault. So I think this specifically, Tiki, this is what's going to fuel him making a difference as Batman, where the idea is that Bruce Wayne failed Gotham. Now Batman, this new symbol, something that is not connected to the Wayne name, is going to make a difference because it has to, which I think has a lot of shades of Zero Year in it. So I think all of that's... got a little bit of shades of Zero Year there. And you also have definitely the military kind of coming into basically the military threatening Gotham. That's definitely a 0 Year call. So a lot of neat stuff there.
Sure. All right. What are the two titles? Remind me.
All right. Okay, remember okay, so episode 11 is They Did What?
They did what?
I believe I gotta double check, but I'm
Huh.
pretty sure it's called They Did What, as in like a reaction to like, oh my god, they did what, they blew up Gotham. Wow.
Right. Yeah, I could see that.
Last episode, I believe, is the beginning. Let me just in a second here. Let me just double check. I want to be absolutely certain here.
The beginning. As in the beginning of a Batman.
Absolutely. Okay, I got it. Yeah, I'm right. All right. So episode 11 is They Did What? Question mark, and episode 12 is the beginning. ... So that's awesome. So yeah.
Nice.
I mean, yeah. At the very least, we got to get a Batman. I know it goes without saying we're going to get a Batman by episode 12, but of course the question is it going to be to the very last moment, or is it going to be throughout the whole episode, or like at least through at least half of? Is he going to? Hopefully they're not going to pull a Tom Welling where we're just going to have him like.
I mean, hopefully that's not the case. I feel like, just general speculation, I don't have much, but just generally speaking, I feel like next episode is going to be kind of like the formation. We're going to get full Batman. Like, basically, they're going to pull the Tom Welling shot at the end of next episode, and so we'll have a full Batman by the final episode. That's my prediction.
I think I'm going to raise you this. All right, he gets the.
All right.
Again, they all stand together. They take on Bane. Of course, we're gonna have like kind of like a dire moment by the end of the next episode, kind of the big kind of climax before the before like the last the kind of the end of the first part, beginning of the second part type stuff. And by the end of the next episode, Bruce is gonna have the omen of the bat. He's gonna get the idea. It's gonna be like the year one thing where it's like yes, Father, I showed down the omen of a bat. Where he's gonna make the big life choice, and then we're gonna have we're gonna be waiting for the big reveal at the next episode, possibly at the top. They're gonna be he's gonna be constructing the suit at the start of the last episode. And then we're gonna be building up to him in the suit. So I think that's how it's gonna unfold.
Uh-huh.
Also, I think there's gonna be a hilarious bit in the next episode. I think there's gonna be this really hilarious bit where Enigma and Penguin are about to escape, but again, this is like when all this stuff is happening. It's basically the minute they're about to board the sub gets blown up by the. Yeah?
Yeah, I could see it.
That'd be funny. Okay. All right, it's all the spec I got.
All right. Okay, so I guess final thoughts on my end, Dragon. It's this is definitely a good, like I said, I think if we didn't have the Eduardo stuff at the start of the season, this might be a little bit abrupt for the Bane thing. Like, hey, we're introducing a big villain at the 11th hour. But since Eduardo was kind of worked in throughout the season, it's not like the smoothest transition I've ever seen, but it is good. I like that we're taking like kind of cues from The Dark Knight Rises, but doing our own thing with it at the same time. Generally speaking, I feel like, honestly, I feel like Riddler and Enigma or Riddler and Penguin were kind of like the big highlights of the episode for me because they were very much on brand. Them and Strange, like they're very much like they've reached the point where it's like, yeah, that's pretty much the comic book versions of them. They're not the proto Riddler or the proto Hugo Strange. They are fully formed at this point. But generally speaking, I was very satisfied with the backbreak, Dragon. I feel like story-wise, that was a very good direction to go in. And I'm just kind of excited for the last two, man. It feels like we're really wrapping things up, and I'm getting a little sentimental, a little misty-eyed as we near the end.
I hate having to wait so long for him, though. That's the thing. We have to wait till.
I know. That's the thing, is that this episode, out of all the seasons, it's been the sloppiest with the, all right, we're going to do 2 episodes, and then we're going to go on a 2-week hiatus, and then we're going to come back with another 3.
Yep.
All right.
For me, it's big episodes setting the stage for the final 2. You got some big revelations. Some again, the dialogue is really on point. You got some brutal action in the best of ways. You have some art. Again, that opening sequence with Hugo Strange is really artful. I don't want to take away from that, guys. So I just want to really highlight how got really good at cold open.
It is.
So far, the whole Nisa Al Ghul thing, it's okay. It's playing well so far. I mean, I hope they can stick the landing on it, because again, it could go really wrong. But again, I so far I'm confident with it, and never thought I would be. Them just kind of pulling another Rise, which again, I'm not saying it's a terrible thing. I'm saying that's a risky thing to do, given how people feel about Rises. But thematically, the episode, again, the whole I am Bane of it all is about Bane, is about revenge. So it's not just about the literal Bane that we have in the episode. It's about the revenge that she seeks. Like she's going to be the Bane to Bruce Wayne, and therefore, all that's really neat. Again, I wish. Again, I hope, and I wish the episode was a little more direct about kind of building kind of a new identity and kind of building this new world. It's talked about in the episode, but again, I'm hoping they kind of, with the formation of Batman, I hope that they kind of pull that off fully with where those episodes go. There's a chance they might just kind of let that lie. Basically, if they don't do that, this episode's gonna be a little like, okay, I Am Bane, it was good, but they could have done maybe a little bit more thematically with it. But on the whole, it was very solid, and it was, again, setting the stage, so it's doing its job, and it's I think very dependent on how the season finishes off. So, but yeah, it's a solid one.
Right. Okay, take us out.
Remember, kids, no matter how dark and scary the world might seem right now, there will be light. There will be light.
Until next time, when we go exploring Gotham yet again.
It will be excruciating and, unfortunately, very lengthy.